I have never seen anyone try to cover up wrongdoing as clumsily and obviously as Donald Trump is.
Which leaves a few honest questions. If his businesses weren't really harmed, why claim $10 billion in damages in the first place? If there is truly nothing in those books, why fight this hard against the discovery he triggered himself? And what happens when a jury finally gets to ask the same things?
So he bought himself a little bit of time. But he is going to have to either drop the lawsuit or turn over the financial records. Those are his two options. Drop it or turn over the...
Now, in fairness, here's their side. The BBC has apologized for the edit, insists it was unintentional, denies it meets the bar for defamation, and has asked the court to toss the case entirely, partly because the documentary aired in Britain, not here. And Trump's position is that the BBC maliciously doctored his words. He told reporters they put terrible words in his mouth, and even suggested they used AI. That's the dispute a jury may weigh in 2027.
And here is where things do get interesting. A lot of people assume that if Donald Trump does turn over these financial records, we're all automatically going to get to see them. Guess what, folks? That's not how lawsuits work. These documents are not going to be made public. They're going to be given to the defendants so that they can use them in their defense.
And that's the tell, isn't it? This is a man who volunteered to sue over his reputation, and is now spending enormous effort to keep the finances behind that reputation locked away.
A lot of ifs. And that's what makes Donald Trump's attempts to hide his finances so telling. Because he knows, his lawyers know, I hope they do. They don't seem very competent, but I think they would at least know this. They know that the entirety of those financial records is not going to become public. But it still scares Donald Trump.
And here's the part a lot of people get wrong. Even if he loses this fight and hands the records over, that does not mean you and I get to see them. They'd go to the BBC's lawyers for discovery. The public only ever sees whatever ends up in a court filing that isn't sealed. So this was never about his taxes hitting the front page tomorrow. It's about what he is fighting this hard to keep sealed. And this week, it worked, for now. On Thursday, just before the deadline, a Trump-appointed judge granted an emergency stay. The handover is paused, while the court decides whether he can rewrite his own complaint. So let's be clear about what did not happen. His records did not go out. He bought himself time. The trial itself isn't until February of 2027. Watch the footwork. Trump's team suddenly moved to amend the lawsuit, to shrink it down to just personal reputational harm, so they could argue the financial records were now, conveniently, irrelevant. The BBC's response was blunt. They called it a transparent effort to evade the court's order, an attempt to dodge the very discovery he took on the moment he chose to sue. So the judge set a deadline, turned the financial records over, and suddenly the man suing for $10 billion had a very different energy. It came down to two options: drop the suit or open the books. Because the second you tell a court your business has lost money, you have put your finances on the table. That's how this works. The other side gets to test that claim. So the BBC said, fine, prove it, show us the books. And a magistrate judge agreed. Those records are, quote, relevant and material. Trump opened this door himself. Here's the setup. Back in December, Trump filed a $10 billion defamation suit against the BBC in a Miami federal court over a Panorama documentary that spliced his January 6th speech in a way that made it look like he told the crowd to march and fight like hell. Now, the BBC apologized for that edit. It says the mistake was unintentional and doesn't rise to defamation. But Trump didn't just sue over his reputation. In his own complaint, he claimed the edit impugned his brand, his properties, and his businesses. Remember that, because that's the sentence that comes back to bite him. Donald Trump sued the BBC for $10 billion. And to make that lawsuit work, he had to claim the network damaged his businesses. That one move, his own move, handed a British broadcaster the legal key to his finances, and now he's scrambling, running to his own judge to slam that door shut before anyone can look inside. This one backfired.